Ang after is thought a study de promessa on this kia shut. The stage door is a mouth that only opens for people who believe in other kinds of dark. Around midnight, the alley loses its threats and keeps only its echoes. A neon beer sign from across the street flutters like a pulse that refuses to be pronounced dead. I palmed my phone face down and slid it into my left pocket, the pocket I use for things that are supposed to make it home, and buzzed twice. The door clicked once, the way a secret agrees to be kept again. Back home, nothing had said, "Can we talk tomorrow?" in the voice that means please stay now. Our couch is excellent at becoming a witness stand. Give it 10 minutes and it swears us in. I left before either of us began practicing our closing statements. Halfway down the stairs, a message from Ully in my contacts, E in the way I label hazards to make them smaller, found me. Stage door, 10 minutes, just talk. He didn't add a baited hook. He didn't need to. By day, I fix other people's paragraphs for a city newsletter that thinks truth and grammar are cousins. By night, I try not to turn my own sentences into weapons. Nothing and I keep a code that works when we remember it. T means come here, you awake. Means I'm scared. Tomorrow means not yet, but don't go far. Eli re-entered orbit 2 months ago when I interviewed him on a rushed tech rehearsal. He was the show's fight captain, all forearms and patience, a mouth that made apologies sound like rehearsal cues. He did not ask for me. That was how I started bringing him everything. He waited beside a rolling wardrobe, a cue sheet in his hand, collar open, sleeves pushed. The hallway smelled like sawdust, sweat, and applause that hadn't been earned yet. He lifted the paper like a summons. "You came," he said, "because grown men never tire of pretending arrival is a plot twist." "I came to return something," I said. "My stage key, your restraint." "Your name," I said. "It's been on my mouth too long for its own health." He laid the cue sheet on a battered road case and set a stubby pencil across it. The columns said things like LX42 and hold at blackout, as if the night itself could be choreographed into decency. "3 words," he said. "Why are you here?" 3 words is cruel. That's why they work. He tapped a blank margin as if it were a confession booth. I wrote proud at breakfast. Beneath it, smaller like a fuse I might or might not light, touch before arguing. He read the graphite as if it had temperature. He didn't touch me. His hand hovered a breath from my lapel, the distance a match keeps during training, and fell back to the paper like the ghost light was taking notes. "Does he know?" Eli asked. He didn't need to weaponize the pronoun. "He knows the apartment is quiet," I said. We stood there in the drifting hush that follows emptied seats. Far upstage, a flummin coughed. Somewhere, a costume zipper confessed to a rack. Eli stepped into my weather, heat arriving before hands do when men are trying to be better than their appetites. "Tell me no," he said, the most indecent line in his entire show. I didn't. I met him in the inch that rewrites evenings. His mouth tasted like mint and a stubborn lemon. When his hand found the back of my neck, his grip remembered humane limits. My body answered like a courtroom that wants the witness anyway. He made the sound men make when a small country surrenders and calls it diplomacy. I made the noise I have promised to forgive when it belongs to him. We didn't rush. Backstage punishes speed. His mouth found the hinge of my jaw. Mine found the spot behind his ear where regret loses vocabulary. His palm slid under my shirt and rested flat a second, "Do you swear?" then moved with attention rather than appetite. He guided my hand down with the steadiness of someone who respects tools. I closed my fingers and he exhaled into my mouth a truth nobody paid to hear. He reached for me and I let him. We stayed quiet because Brick prefers prose. The ghost light looked politely away. "We already cheated," he said later when breath remembered employment. We cheated when we started telling each other the truth before we told it at home. I know, I said, and the catwalk did not drop a verdict. He folded the cue sheet, slid it into my left pocket with ceremonial slowness, and let his thumb trace my wrist once, enough to register, not enough to be charged as evidence. He stepped back the moral inch that passes inspection. I booked a room, he said, not triumphant, weather report, not prophecy. Refundable. We could stand at the window and not touch for 60 seconds to prove we remember ceremony. We could keep the do not disturb honest. I'm tired of being clever, I said. Clever's a note in the margin, he said. Accurate is the line. He reached into a prop bin and produced a novelty magnet shaped like a comedy tragedy mask, ridiculous and perfect, and pressed it into my palm. For your fridge, he said. Cold helps letters behave. We walked onto the empty stage. The house seats yawned like a dark ocean. The balcony hung there like a held breath. He showed me spiked tape crosses, the exact place where an actor should land for the light to forgive him. He stood me on one and stepped back. Now say something true, he said. I came because I want the right thing, I said. Because I don't trust myself not to choose the prettier wrong out of habit. Good, he said, like a director assigning a harder move. Text me a weather report in the morning. Tell me if the kettle beat the reasons. It usually does, I said, when we let it. Outside, the alley remembered it had walls. The crosswalk gave me time, I took it. The apartment offered its square of kitchen light and the fridge's patient hum. Nothing sat on the floor with his back against the door, sleeves pushed to his elbows, one ankle crossed over the other, the posture manuals use when they draw people who are about to fix things. He didn't ask where I'd been. He tilted his head toward the place beside him. I sat. Do you want to be asked? He said, voice steady, not performing mercy, offering it. Please, I said, because prompts are the scaffolding of my better self. Are you lonely? Some nights, I said. Not here, not when you ask first, not when the kettle outruns the reasons. I placed his hand on my forearm the way he does when he needs to make sure I'm not inventing weather. His thumb traced once and decided to believe me. I feel useful, he said. I want to be wanted before I'm useful. Tonight's procedure, I said. Touch first, argue second, report later. The kettle clicked like a stage manager's cue in a small war. He poured water over mint. We named it dinner because names are cheaper than regret. I pinned the cue sheet beneath the mask magnet so Proud at Breakfast faced the room. Nothing read the graphite in his mouth did the smaller, braver thing. He took the dry erase marker from the cup by the fridge and wrote beneath the magnet, Tomorrow, keep the torque. He didn't grin. He nodded like a man assembling a morning from honest screws. We made a rule that isn't noble. When prosecution tries to wear a bathrobe, one of us says stage door and the other puts the kettle on while the first puts his hands where history can find them. 5 words when 5 are enough. Stop at the shoulder, not the ditch. Try to want what we promised, and when we don't, write 3 words on small paper and tell the room where we'll fail differently tomorrow. Days do what days do when you're trying to be an amateur human with professional consistency. The folded cue sheet in my pocket learns the curve of my left hand. Paper learns its carriers. On the late tram, I draft messages to no one that begin I didn't ask, because I thought that counted as kindness and end may your breakfast go right. I don't send them. The not sending feels like a skill borrowed from ghost lights that never get to leave first. A week later, afternoon tries to be a test. The newsletter wants copy 30 minutes ago. A donor wants to be described as tireless without the T word. I walk past the theater and buy nothing. I leave a bottle of water by the stage door with a note, for whoever is waiting for a sister. The doorman gives me the nod bridges use when they've held and will hold again. On my way home, I slip a blank strip of spiked tape into my pocket and write "turn" toward your name across the clean side. I don't light anything. Eli and I downgrade our grammar. Fewer late-night messages. No rooms with hotel curtains that don't understand the point of dawn. If we fail quieter. If we stop without applause. We still orbit. He sends a photo of the Culbud with my initials hidden in the corner of a joke. I reply with steam curling over 2 mugs and the word torque written in nothing's unshowy script. We flirt by blocking. We confess by notes. The night the rain feels personal, the theater loses power. Emergency lamps bloom along the aisles like obedient stars. The stage manager calls for hands to move a set piece off the revolve before it eats a cast member at dawn. I'm nearby and too willing. Eli meets me at center with a flashlight and the face he saves for catastrophe, calm enough to make a coward reconsider. We haul flats in the dim like 2 men who haven't behaved, which is exactly what we are. We finish soaked, swearing, laughing wrong. He pulls me into the wings and kisses me with a hunger that ignores stage etiquette. My shoulder hits a fly rail, his hand finds my hip. Somewhere a sandbag stares neutrally. We don't rush. We map mercy with our mouths and rehearsal with our hands. His palm slips under my damp shirt and pauses. "Do you swear?" Then continues with deliberate grammar. I bracket him in a grip I know he can step out of. He reaches for me and I let him. We stay quiet because velvet listens and tells. The ghost light, if it could roll its eyes, would. "We're bad at quitting," he says against my mouth. "We're good at failing differently," I say into his throat. He rests his forehead on mine and exhales a vote for better men. "Text me a weather report in the morning," he says. "Tell me if the kettle beat the reasons." "It usually does," I say, "when we let it." Nothing meets me at home in a t-shirt I should have retired and an expression that chooses not to weaponize patience. He notices the damp and the borrowed theater smell and asks only hungry, like a man who refuses to make dinner into a trial. We eat toast as if it has been newly invented. After, he takes the marker and writes under the magnet, "Ask before leaving." I write, "Hold me first." We don't argue with it. We sign like witnesses. The newsletter runs my piece on backstage folk with a headline that uses the word unsung as if it pays them. Eli texts a photo of the printout with a circle around a sentence where I accidentally wrote "we" when I meant "they." He doesn't correct me. He lets the circle sit there like a light cue that may or may not fire. Nothing reads the same sentence and says nothing. He kisses my temple as if to tell the word it can stay if it behaves. One blue morning, I turn the cue sheet over and add 3 new words. Choose the hard. It looks like a spare line in a play that might be cut in previews. I tuck the paper back into my left pocket and feel the day shift a degree. Later, at the theater, I press the comedy-tragedy magnet into Eli's palm. "For your locker," I say. "Cold helps letters behave." He closes his hand around it like a prayer he isn't ready to say out loud. "We can stop," he says. "He means I won't make you the worst thing about yourself." "I don't know how," I say. "I mean I might learn." We stand in the wings, not touching, listening to a rehearsal for an argument we've already had with better music. In that noise, we agree to less. Fewer doors. No stage door invitations with teeth. If we stay cleaner. If we break gently. It's not noble. Nobility is a word I don't trust anymore. It's procedural, like running a scene until nobody gets hurt. Weeks blur. Mornings become a place with rules. No phones at the table. No rehearsed cruelty before coffee. No pretending that tomorrow is a closet where tonight can hang unexamined. I keep texting weather reports. Sometimes the kettle wins easily. Sometimes it needs help and nothing stands behind me, wraps his arms around my ribs and gives the minutes a spine. The night of opening, I sit in row G with a borrowed tie and the kind of anxious pride good audiences bring. The crowd laughs in responsible places, claps too long in the selfish ones. When Eli steps into his light, he doesn't look for me. The part of him that belongs to the show won't permit it. That's how I know he's taking this seriously. After the curtain, he sends a single photo, the ghost light alone on the stage, a small, stubborn sun. I send back the magnet on our fridge and the cue sheet under it. We leave it there. Outside, the alley remembers its threats and its echoes. Inside, our kitchen hums a modest hymn. Nothing leans against the counter and asks, "Are you staying?" without making it a trap. I say, "I'm trying to want what I promised. Help me make more minutes where that's easy." He nods, opens a drawer, and finds a blank index card. He writes, "Read me closely." I write, "Handle with care." We pin the card under the magnet, absurd and effective as any ritual that keeps two men from becoming hatchets. We fail and fail differently, and fail in ways that don't require anyone to stand under a hot lamp pretending to know which monologue will save them. The room does not demand a verdict. The morning remembers its job. And when we say tomorrow out loud, it means only what we let it mean. The cue sheet warms in my left pocket, heavier than paper should be, the kind of weight that doesn't drag you down so much as hold you still long enough to choose.